We will now discuss about glucose oxidation. This is one particular example in the metabolism inside the cells. So, glucose is the principal fuel catabolized by cells to produce ATP. So, here is the general schematic of this reaction. So, the total reaction here is you have the glucose molecule C6H12O6 plus 6 molecules of the oxygen. This is for aerobic respiration to produce the products, which are the six carbon dioxide molecules, 6 water molecules, and a net total of 38 ATP. So the energy from glucose here can be calculated at around 686 kilocalories per mole that is available to do work. So when we say available to do work, so that means you have this amount in terms of ATP that can be used by the cell to produce other cellular processes. So what are those cellular processes that utilizes ATP? So they can be used to remove toxins from inside the cell to outside. They can be used to produce to repair your DNA, to produce proteins, to produce the lipids, to repair your cell membrane. So other many different types of reactions, especially the anabolic reactions used by the cells to repair itself. So they harvest that from the oxidation of glucose, which is this reaction is a catabolic reaction. Because notice, you have glucose, which is a pretty large molecule. You have 6 carbons here. And then at the end, you will have a carbon dioxide, 6 carbon dioxides, but the carbon dioxide has only 1 carbon, a molecule with only 1 carbon. So you have a large molecule that is being processed or being broken down to smaller molecules. So that's basically catabolism. So here is the schematic of the entire or overall process of these glucose respiration. You have here your energy input. So these are the different steps in glucose, basically glycolysis, the oxidation of glucose. So in the first stage of glycolysis, you have an input of energy. So activation energy, small barriers can be overcome with these enzymes. And the energy stored in the activated carriers can be used for ATP production. So in glycolysis, you basically have an investment. You have a net these cells first invest as in energy to first energize this glucose molecule for it to properly harvest the energy in the succeeding processes. So basically, this is your glucose reaction. So as you can see here, this is stepwise. So you have basically a series of reaction here. So we need to talk about metabolism, metabolic reactions. We do not only discuss one reaction. Here we can see one reaction, but this is the simplified version. The actual what actually happens is that you have series of reactions. Actually 10 for glycolysis, 10 reactions for for your glucose to actually get or harvest the ATP, or rather the electron carriers for during this reaction of the glucose. So on the other hand, if you simply burn glucose, it's a single one step reaction. So just one step, you will release the same energy for this reaction. So why does the cell not burn it outright and have to do the lengthy 10-step process? Well, of course, burning, we will not get any usable energy in any usable form. When we say usable form, that's ATP. We won't get any energy in the form of ATP here when we burn directly glucose. So what happens is that we use step-by-step processes to actually chip away or step by step for small bites, harvest energy into small bites so we can make them into ATP. So you have glycolysis is the first step. So it's a universal process. So we have the bacteria doing glycolysis, we have us humans doing glycolysis, you have plants doing glycolysis as well. So it's a universal process. It's when we talk about glyco is sugar and lysis is basically splitting. So in a way, you can say it's sugar splitting. So that's the origin of the term. So you have one glucose molecule to produce two pyruvate molecules. So it's not the outright carbon dioxide. This is only the first of the 3 steps for aerobic respiration. So glycolysis is you have one glucose molecules and ending up with two pyruvate molecules. This is the and this requires 10 steps already. So you have a net production here of 2 ATP molecules. When we say net, this is the harvested ATP minus the invested ATP, because as you have seen on the slide before, you have an energy input. You invest ATP here. So, aside from the ATP and the pyruvate, you get NAD plus molecules that are reduced to NADH. So, NAD plus molecules here are what we call the electron carriers. These are molecules that accepts the electron from glucose, and later it will be used to power oxidative phosphorylation reactions to mass produce the ATP. But for now, these electron carriers, as its name suggests, they're just carrying electrons. So they are the ones where the electrons from glucose are put into for the meantime, and then they will act as messengers or carriers to in another reaction later on. So let's look closely into the steps of glycolysis. So this is the beginning or the first half of glycolysis. So you have here your glucose molecule. You investment number 1, you invest 1 ATP molecules. So glucose, you transfer phosphate from ATP to form glucose 6-phosphate. So that's investment number 1. You get ATP to form ADP. So it's investment of ATP molecule. And then afterwards, this glucose 6-phosphate is further isomerized into fructose 6-phosphate. Now, after isomerization, the second investment occurs. So this is investment number 2, investment of another ATP. This time, you add another phosphate. So you form fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Now, these terms here on the right, hexokinase, phosphohexose isomerase, phosphofructokinase, these are the enzymes that are responsible for doing these reactions. So when you see terms that ends with the ase suffix, that means you have an enzyme. Now, going back, so you have here now, after the second investment, you have the molecule fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is very unstable because they have a large amount of electronegative groups here. You have the phosphate groups here, 2 phosphate groups, and then you have oxygen here. These are highly electronegative. So these are unstable. So this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate splits into 2 molecules of 3 carbons each. Now, the 2 molecules of 3 carbons each are the dihydroxyacetone phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So, let me be clear. So, the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate splits. One becomes one of the two because it splits. So, one becomes glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate directly, and the other becomes dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Why? Because fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, the split is uneven. So when you have an even splitting here, so the one of the product, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, we cannot use it as is. So it must first be isomerized to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can further be used in the succeeding steps of glycolysis. So again, let me just for clarity, so your fructose 1,6-bisphosphate splits. One directly becomes glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which can be used further in the step 6 of your glycolysis, but the other one must first be isomerized or arranged. So you have dihydroxyacetone phosphate, that's the other one, that is isomerized back to isomerized to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So let's look at the next step. Okay, so here is the 2 times, because if you remember glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, you have now 2 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate at the end of this at the end of this process. You will have 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphates. So each glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will of course undergo similar reactions for glycolysis. So that means 2 times. So remember, you have now a 3-carbon molecule glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So the phosphate group binds to the 3rd carbon of both molecules. So the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it will be added with a phosphate group. So this phosphate does not come from ATP. It's a free phosphate free flowing inside the cell. And in a similar step, you have also the reduction of NAD plus. So you have NAD plus reduced to NADH. You have two of them. So this glyceraldehyde triphosphate becomes 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. So you have two phosphate here. And here is the first energy harvesting step. You have ADP, one phosphate group from 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is attached to ADP. So this is the first energy harvesting step. Actually, the first two, because this is, remember, occurring two times. And then you have, now, after producing one ATP molecule or one ATP molecule for each glyceraldehyde triphosphate, you will get 3-phosphoglycerate. Now, this phosphoglycerate will be rearranged again by phosphoglycerate mutase. So you will get then 2-phosphoglycerate. So you just move the phosphate group. And then you have the enolase. You condense, or rather not exactly condense. You remove water from this molecule you have using the enolase, and then you will get phosphoenol pyruvate. Now, phosphoenol pyruvate is the precursor to another energy harvesting step. So from phosphoenol pyruvate, it will phosphorylate another ADP molecule to form your ATP. And so at the end of this one, you will have your pyruvate molecule. So here you have, from the previous reaction, you have an investment of 2 ATP, and here you have harvesting of 2 ATP for every glyceraldehyde triphosphate. So that means 2 times. So you will produce here at the end 4 ATP molecules. But since you invested 2 ATP at the beginning, you have a net production of 2 ATP. So basically, that's what glycolysis meant when we talk about it in the beginning of this part of the lecture, where there is a net production of 2 ATP. Because you produce 4 ATP, remember the 2 ATPs here times 2, minus the net, the ATP invested at the beginning, where you use ATP to produce, to put phosphates in the glucose and these, in the glucose and the fructose. So you have your net production of 2 ATP. So basically, that's our glycolysis. So I will stop here, and then we will talk about what happens next, particularly what happens to NAD+.